Hey, and welcome to an authority video. It is a very, very rich topic, and there's definitely things I will probably skip over. If there's something more specific you have questions about, obviously go ahead and ask me in the comments or catch me on Twitch. But I'm going to try to simplify the uses of authority and how to sort of get the most out of your authorities. There is something I'm not going to cover in this specifically for dual or multiple authorities to get pieces with more than one authority. I do a separate video about that because it's a very complicated topic on its own. But I'm going to try to get through the bulk of it, and I will put a link to the other video in the description. Okay, so let's get into it. So first, authorities, what do they do? When you put authority on a piece of gear, it does a few things. Or you find a piece with authority. The first thing is you're going to have special modifiers, okay? Prefixes and suffixes that you can only get on that authority. Some of them can be very, very powerful, and some of them can be very powerful for other reasons because you can use your crafting to get specific things on them, which can be very, very powerful. So first, if you don't find a piece of gear, how you get authority on a piece of gear is by using authority stones. Now, they drop typically from those bosses. You can get them from other bosses at random, but for the most part, if you fight Alyssa, you're going to have a chance at Alyssa essences. If you fight Hamal, you're going to have a thing for Hamal. There are 10 of them currently as of the video. As far as I know, we're probably going to get 2 more because there's 12 total gods. We're probably going to get 2 more in the December Season 3 update, but for now, there's 10. Each of them tends to lean towards a certain thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you should not look at one because you're a lightning user and that thing could be for fire. Some of the stuff is universal and very powerful. So when you put an authority stone on a piece of gear, and I did talk about this in the enchanting video, but I'm going to talk about it here as well, it will change all of the modifiers on that piece of gear. So if you have a piece of gear that already has all the stuff you want on it, and you're just trying to get the authority, I call it implicit, I don't know if there's a proper name for it, but this glowy bar of stats here at the top of the thing, if you're trying to just get that, make sure your thing is legendary because it will change all of the affixes on it when you put the authority on. So typically it is done at the beginning of the process. Again, if you want to know more about that, the crafting process, it's enchanting in this game. I have a separate video for it, but this is specifically about authorities. So when you have an authority, okay, if you go to your options, you are going to see these nice little blue things, and they indicate that that is a authority option. Again, a lot of them are very specific, and a lot of them have locked levels, unlike the regular ones where they can go up to 13 typically. Some of them can only go to 7, some can go to 10, some can go to 11, but that's something you should keep in mind, that you don't have to roll them all the way to 13, and you should look at them before you use them. So they all have their own things, prefixes and suffixes, okay, and that's important to note before you start making gear, because there are certain affixes that you are definitely going to want for certain builds, or some for all builds. So like attack hit rate amplification, if you have low hit rate, that's something maybe you're going to want. When you put a authority stone on a piece of gear, okay, it's going to do 2 things. It's going to give you the options for these prefixes and suffixes, and it's going to give you the authority implicit, which is the wrong word, but that's what I call them. And this is going to be chosen from a random list here at the top when you click on the thing. It's always going to be 5 options. They're always 20%, and they have roll values, which you can't see, I don't think, anywhere, which is kind of a lack in the game. That's something I hope they look into, and maybe they'll see this video and do it. But you can find out what the rolls are Once you have it on a piece of gear by holding Alt, you can see that this stats goes from 3 to 6. So I know I have the most by getting the 6, so I can stop rolling them. The authority prefixes and suffixes, the thing I wanted to bring up that is important about them is that a lot of the time they are going to have something called mutually exclusive options. Okay, and I'll use, like, let's see, I don't know if there's one that I can show very quickly. So physical damage amp. So likely, okay, I don't know because I can't check it because I'm not going to waste a stone just to do it. But if you try to get physical damage amplification, okay, and physical damage, they're both prefix. Generally, it's only going to let you have one. One I know for sure is on boots. I'm not sure which stone gives it, but you can get move speed amplification. You can't get move speed amplification prefix and move speed on the same pair of boots. These are something you got to really think about as you're doing it. Once you have the authority on a piece of gear, okay, here I'll make this blue. If you go into the options, okay, and turn on the options, you can see this will say, oh, you can't have lightning damage and poison damage or cold damage. Or it'll give you that so you can know before you start your crafting if it's going to be something you can't do. I have made this mistake in the past, and that's why I'm bringing this up. Typically, when I'm going to build a piece of gear, unless you're doing dual authority, you can't do this with dual authority. But you can go through and check to see, okay, I want weapon speed, weapon damage, and hit rate. Do they work? Okay, they do. And then I'm going to go shock rate and int and cold damage. Okay, so it all went in. That means it's good, and you can move on with your craft. This is something I actually forgot to bring up in the enchanting thing, which is why I'm bringing it up now. So making sure that you're not going to have overlapping mutually exclusive options is something you want to pay attention to when you're building your thing. And again, if you had Alyssa Essence or something on a piece of gear, you could check to see if they were mutually exclusive by putting them in and then seeing if they go, and if the message pops up, obviously you can't. So authorities are really, really powerful, and there's some really good options out there. And on their own, they're really good. And doing, again, dual authority, having a prefix from one and a suffix from another, or two prefixes or two suffixes. My chess piece actually has 3 different authorities on it, even though the symbols look the same. This and these are different authorities. They can get really complicated and really powerful if you use them right. But for the most part, especially if you're starting out, don't waste your authority stones just to get something. You should really save them for when you sort of know what you're doing, and you're going to go for your end game stuff. You shouldn't just be using them all along the way, because then you might not have any when you need them. You can also, through events and stuff, get the authority selection chests. I always save these unless I absolutely need them. I don't just open them for whatever. You can see I do that with a lot of stuff. I stockpile because I feel like it's smart to save them. So that's, you know, how you get them. You get them from the authority bosses or just regular bosses at random. They can give you prefixes and suffixes and the thing. And the last thing I want to talk about is the crafting. Now, when you're doing crafting, sometimes the authority thing you're going to go for might seem like terrible for your build, but it might craft into something very powerful. I have quite a few pieces of gear that specifically have totem duration or totem health or totem resist, because it can craft into skill rune effect, which is really powerful. That affects all of your skill runes. So these are things you should look at when you're trying to do authority. It's not easy to find information on these, and as far as I know, there's not really a good list anywhere. I am in the process of making one, but it is a ludicrous amount of information, and I'm trying to get it out there, but it's probably not going to get done anytime soon. So at the moment, you just kind of got to ask people or look at other people's gear that are using similar type builds. Again, totem there. Let's see if I had any other pieces that... I know for sure one that I make good use of is the Aquila's movement skill rune max use count that I roll into negative resource costs so that my spells don't cost so much. Do I have any others that are like really... I feel like... things like this. Oh, that's not authority. Never mind. I'm looking specifically for authority ones here. I don't think I have any others that really stand out, but that's something that you should be looking for as you go through. I don't really know what else to say about authority. It can be incredibly powerful, but it is a really complicated topic. It's gonna vary wildly what you're taking depending on what your other stats are, what you're getting from the Zodiac, what your gear has. Even Lacrima stuff is, you know, going to be very important if it comes down to, again, authority stuff like getting the lightning damage. The shock rate doesn't matter, but that lightning damage is very powerful in the Lacrima. So it's a deep topic, and I can't tell you exactly how to do it because it's going to vary very wildly depending on your build. But hopefully knowing sort of what you can do with them will help. As always with any of my videos, if you guys have questions, ask me in the comments. If you have, you know, the time, stop into my stream, and I will gladly answer any questions you put out. I don't claim to know everything, and I've probably missed some important information in this video, and if I did, please let me know in the comments, and I will make a correction in the description. There's a link to my Twitch in the description, and I hope you guys get something out of this, but it is an incredibly complicated topic, and it's hard to get specific with knowledge when I don't know what your build does. But I hope it helps, and I hope you get to pet a floofy cat like Statler, and you get stuff.